Chapter 54. 20 chapters to go. Okay. You're going to have to find another drug when I'm done with this one, countryman. I may start on another book. I don't know. We'll see. Going to have some discussion after this chapter, I believe. Mark got some sleep that night. He wasn't sure if it was because he was tired from getting so little rest the night before, or if it was because of the rain. He always slept well when it rained. In fact, he had a hard time getting up in the morning. When he did, he counted the days since his family had left Waco. 23. He was losing a little more hope every day. He made himself think of something else. Jim and his crew had spent the night out in the rain to watch the pipeline. Mark wondered how much good it had done. How many people would move in the rain? After breakfast, he'd check with the front gate and see how many people had gone by in the last 24 hours. Finally, the coffee was ready, and he sat down at the kitchen table with a hot cup and listened to the pouring rain hit the roof. There was a knock on the back door. It surprised Mark a little. The kitchen had become an open area to everyone who was close to the Turners. They respected the rest of the house, but no one knocked to get into the kitchen. Mark said, "Come in," and Kurt walked through the door. "Hey, Kurt, this is a surprise." "I didn't hear you drive up. How about a cup of coffee?" "Coffee sounds great," the lawman said. "The way it's coming down out there, you couldn't hear a tank driving up." "What brings you over to this neck of the woods?" "I met with the FEMA man yesterday, and I wanted to fill you in." "Really? How'd it go?" Mark asked eagerly. "Better than I expected." "Thanks," Kurt said as Mark poured a cup in front of him. "I didn't really like him. He was a little too self-absorbed for me, but I was able to get some good information because he likes to hear himself talk. He has been charged with evaluating the needs of 12 rural counties and reporting back to FEMA's Central and South Texas headquarters in Austin. Then they're going to assign what resources they can to each county based on need. So what does that mean for us? I told them we're in pretty good shape, that if they could just get us some food for those who need it, we would take care of distributing it. He seemed to like the idea that he wouldn't have to do much around here. I got the impression that he's allergic to work." Mark laughed. "Aren't all politicians and bureaucrats?" "Hey, I'm a politician, remember?" Kirk said, acting like his feelings were hurt. "Sorry," Mark snickered. "I didn't mean you." "Well, all right then." The lawman finally laughed. "Anyway, since Mr. FEMA Big Shot has 11 other counties, I think he's going to leave us pretty much alone." "That's great. What about our vehicles? Do you think they're going to try and confiscate them?" "I don't think so. He told me if I needed any vehicles to distribute the food, I could request them from the citizens of our county, and if I didn't get what I needed, to let him know. I don't know if that means he'd get us some trucks or make the citizens volunteer them. Whatever he means doesn't really matter to us because we'll take care of it ourselves." "Good," Mark said. "Did he say if they knew anything more about what caused the burst?" "He said they think it's some form of terrorism, but they haven't ruled out some kind of solar event. I'm not sure if he really knows anything or if he just likes using a bunch of big words." Mark laughed. "I know the type," he said. "Yeah," Kurt agreed, laughing with Mark. After a minute, his face got serious. "He did tell me something that really concerns me, though. They're having trouble getting a lot of the citizens of Bexar County to leave their homes and report to the shelters. They don't really have the manpower to go around and make everyone do it, so they're going to turn the water off in about a week." "Are they going to announce it on the radio?" "No. They don't want to give people a chance to store a bunch. Then when they don't have any, they'll have to leave. They figure most of them will report to the shelters then, but they're going to post National Guard troops at the county lines to catch anybody trying to leave." "That's kind of dirty pool, isn't it?" Mark asked. "I think so." "What will they do with those people?" "He told me they were just going to take them to the shelter and make them report." Kurt answered, "I hope that's all they do. Making people leave their homes against their will is bad enough, in my opinion. Thank God we're not faced with that here." The two men sat quietly, thinking about what would happen if FEMA tried relocating all of the citizens in this county. A thought occurred to Mark that concerned him. "What about the people who have their own water wells? What are they going to do about them?" "I don't know," the sheriff answered. "It's been illegal since the late 80s for anyone in the city limits to have a working well without a special and hard-to-get permit. Even most of the people outside the city are on some kind of water system. There can't be too many folks who have wells and the ability to get water from them without electricity. I think those who do would fly under the radar as long as they kept a low profile. I hope so, Mark said quietly. Let me tell you what I'm concerned about, Kurt said. This is the real reason I came over. There are a lot of gangs still roaming the streets of San Antonio. FEMA is aware of the problem, but I don't think they know how bad it might be. Most of the gangs are looting abandoned houses for food and keeping their heads down, from what I hear. But when the water goes off, it's going to force things to a head. They'll kill if they have to for water, and some of them might come our way. The FEMA man said that they'd have troops at every road leading out of the county, but what if some of them are smart enough not to stay on the roads? No doubt some of the released felons have returned to or mixed in with the gangs. I want us to be ready in case some of them make it past the National Guard. I wanted to get you, Jim, and Gunny to come back to town with me for a meeting with some of the other guys. Mark explained that he and Gunny could come, but that Jim was out watching a pipeline being used, just as Kurt was concerned about. Kurt asked if they could go see it, and Mark was happy to oblige him. He pulled down 2 large thermoses out of the cabinet and emptied the rest of the coffee into one of them. He started a fresh pot and went to get his rifle, vest, and rain gear. When he returned to the kitchen, Kurt was standing ready with a camouflage poncho on over his uniform. Underneath, it was obvious that he had on a chest rig like Rob had. In his hand, he held an M1A with a stainless barrel and a synthetic stock. Mark filled the second thermos with coffee and put both of them in his day pack. Mark knew where Jim's team was going to observe from, and it didn't take him and the lawmen long to cover the distance. Jim and his guys were thankful for the coffee, and they finished it in no time. Jim reported that they'd seen 3 groups go by yesterday morning before it started raining hard, but that no one had moved by since then. Mark took Kurt down to the trail and showed him how worn it was. Kurt agreed that they'd have to watch this route once the water was turned off in the city. They went back up to Jim's observation point, and Mark talked him into coming back home. The rain was getting harder, and the sky showed no signs of it letting up anytime soon. It seemed foolish to leave the guys out in this mess if there was no one moving.